I actually wanted to start with a mock draft. We're not going to go into every single mock draft every single day, all off season long. That can get monotonous and can be somewhat tedious radio. But there are certain interesting mocks, I think, that drop. And here's one for you. PFF put out their latest 3-round mock, and they had the Commanders at number 7, taking Jeremiyah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. I think most of you guys are thinking, and I know Danny and I are assuming, that they're going to go defense at number 7. And they probably should. If David Bailey's there, take him. A lot of people would be fine with Reuben Bain from Miami. Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. Sonny Styles, linebacker. Same team, the Buckeyes. One of those guys makes so much sense for a terrible defense. And they have a lot of needs on that side of the ball. But what if they just took arguably the best player in the draft, the most electric offensive talent in this class, and they got Jaden Daniels, a pretty special weapon? I mean, tell me with a straight face you wouldn't be excited by that. I'm going to read what they said about Jeremiyah Love at 7, and then we can get into it. But the write-up was an edge defender would be a strong consideration here for the Commanders. They'd likely sprint the card in either for Reuben Bain or David Bailey. However, there is something to be said for adding an elite talent if one falls. Jeremiyah Love, who earned PFF overall grades above 90 in each of the past 2 seasons, could pair Jaden Daniels to give the Commanders their version of Baltimore's rushing attack with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. This is my exact thinking on this. Look at what happened when the Eagles gave Jalen Hurts Saquon Barkley 2 seasons ago, and they went and won the Super Bowl. Look at the Ravens' offense and the rushing impact it had when Lamar Jackson got Derrick Henry, who subsequently went for basically 2K, and if not for slowing him down at the end of the year, he's like 20 yards behind Saquon
set the record,
Barkley.
yeah.
He would have been the record holder, if not for Barkley breaking it that season. To have the Henry to your Jackson, the Barkley to your Hurts, they're not going to be in the gun as much. It's not going to be nearly as much read option maybe as it would have been with Cliff. But to go get a running back is a complete game changer for the Commanders. I don't care what position the weapon is. Get an elite weapon. They don't have good enough players. Their best player is Terry McLaurin, who might be here for one more season and who is really good. But he's not an all-pro. He's not a superstar. He's not a guy that's going to single-handedly win you a game. He's a very solid, legitimately good wide receiver. I love Terry. Got nothing bad to say about him. But when's the last time you had an all-pro? When's the last time you had a guy that was in the MVP conversation, non-quarterback? Because he had such a great year that he was an OPOY candidate. It hasn't existed. It has not happened. Jeremiyah Love could be a really unique, special player. If you got a Bijan Robinson, a Saquon Barkley, I know it's a lot in the top 10, but if you got that type of presence on offense, think about what that could do for your young quarterback and for this offense. Danny, I'm in. Now, is it my preference over some of the other things? Not necessarily. But in the way that a lot of people will be upset if and when they go Jeremiyah Love at 7, if that plays out, I will be thrilled. I will love it. Is he a weapon? Does it help Daniels directly and immensely? Then sign me up.
This draft, or this mock, has the impact defensive ends, the edges, already having gone. And if that's the scenario, then I guess it would make more sense, so to speak. It's just not something that I would major in. I mean, to me, the first-round running back, especially a top 10 running back, should normally be reserved for we're a piece away. We need that one extra thing. Just because of the attrition rate, just because of they're unlikely to be second contract guys, and that's what I'm trying to do here is have a building block. If you care less about the second contract and more about the immediate short term, then by all means, get a 250, 300 touch running back to buoy things. But it just puts a lot of impetus in other places. The same argument that you made for what if they had this great player, why wouldn't that hold true for another spot? What if they had a great defensive end? What if they had a great safety? What if they had a great cornerback?
It wouldn't benefit Daniels the same way, and that's what I care the most about.
Which I get.
It also wouldn't benefit their offense the same way, and this league is about offense. Everybody wants to have a great defense, and I get it. Seattle just won the Super Bowl, and that defense is awesome. Mike McDonald is not walking through that door, okay? They should be worried, to me, about having an elite offense. Getting the offense back to being an upper echelon like it was 2 seasons ago in 2024. They should be worried about time of possession not being as horrible as it was last year when they finished 29th in the NFL at 28 minutes and 25 seconds. one of the big reasons the year before that they had all the success, everyone acts like their defense was so good. It wasn't, by the way. Their defense was below average the season before. They made more plays. They got more takeaways. Mediocre and bad defenses can do that, and I hope with the scheme they're going with this Flores, Minnesota thing. But I think the big difference for their offense, where it was 7th last year and 4th running the football and 12th throwing the ball, I guess 2 seasons ago I'm talking about, they were a top 10 team in time of possession. So they were able to play a little more complimentary. They were able to hide a pretty bad defense, and it just didn't rear its head as much because they weren't on the field as much. So I would argue, Danny, I'm helping your defense with this pick too, because I'm going to run the ball better. I'm going to sustain the ball better. I think he's able to catch passes out of the backfield as well. I'm going to do more time of possession stuff on offense than I can without him. So in a complimentary way, I'll help the defense, but really I'm helping Jaden Daniels. My whole offseason is about weapons on offense and getting better on defense. What better weapon would there be than a young, fairly cheap, first-round pick running back who is more explosive, has more speed than anybody else you could bring in here? 1,100 and 1,300 yards the last 2 seasons. 17 touchdowns and 18 touchdowns as a rusher, and 19 and 21 total. 40 touchdowns the last 2 years for Notre Dame.
He looks great. He looks awesome. So did Ashton Genty, who goes to the Raiders and, is running into brick walls. I mean, to me, running games are about schemes, designs, great blocking, and the occasional once every 25, 30 runs, you get that exceptional Saquon Barkley jumping over somebody moment. But for the most part, down in and down out, it's a marginal bit of difference for the most part. Now,
with a guy like a Barkley or a Bijan Robinson?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at most runs, 100%, you look at most runs, they don't result in home runs. Most runs are normal NFL runs, and if it's blocked up well, you get something. You can get extra things.
If that's what you're saying,
there are highlight plays, of course, that separate those guys from the rest. And I'm not saying Bijan Robinson's the same as Kyle Monangai. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's a better player. But to me, that everything that you just laid out for why a running back would make sense is why a dynamic wide receiver makes sense, opening things up for people. I'm fine
with that too.
Yeah. So if Carnell Tate's there, for example,
better than Jeremiyah Love.
Totally. But
Carnell Tate's a nice player. Jeremiyah Love, I think, is, by all accounts, a safer bet to be really good. You mentioned Ashton Genty. The Raiders had the worst offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
The reason Ashton Genty didn't have much of a season, and he still had a couple of games and several plays where he was able to overcome the terrible offensive line. Washington's offensive line is good. Like, this is the part that people don't really get. This was not a liability last year. They're built really well. The metrics came out today. Somebody was doing a pass rush win rate thing, and basically like the percentage of time you give up pressures.
Their guards are good.
Their top two, both of their guards were in the top 10 in the league. Their tackle, Laramie Tunsil, was, I think, 2nd or 3rd among tackles. Now, that's pass rush stuff, but they were able to run the ball with this past season. Like, they ended up in the top 10 in rushing yards per play, and they did it with Chris Rodriguez as kind of a thumper, and Bill being pretty inconsistent and giving the ball occasionally to Jeremy McNichols. You add let's just say he'd be a top 10 running back in the league right away to this offense. What it could do for the quarterback and overall for the operation, I think, is astronomical. And I'm surprised that anybody wouldn't just say, is it an incredible weapon? Is the potential there for you to have just added a guy that could go to the Pro Bowl? Because that doesn't matter anymore because Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowler. A guy that is, able to be an all-pro conversation eventually or whatever. With Jaden Daniels on offense, no problem. Now, to do this, you have to have a plan. I'm not saying, by the way, that my starting edge is going to be Javonte Jean-Baptiste, and I'm going to draft Jeremiyah Love. It means that if you're Adam Peters, I need to go sign a bunch of guys on defense. I need to sign 6 or 7 new players and 5 or 6 new starters. I need an edge. I need a linebacker. I need corners. I need to do all that to allow myself the luxury. They're not going to be able to take Jeremiyah Love, Danny, unless they've done all the work first.
Sure.
So that they can go have fun and play in the sandbox?
Yeah, whether that's Mekhi Lemon or Jeremiyah Love or anybody, you still have to do a bleep ton, but especially if you're using your top 10 pick on a running back.
Totally. So let me ask you this, and then I want to set up the phones on this because I'm actually really, really curious to see what people think. On a binary of liking it or being out, it sounds like you'd be out.
I'd be out.
I would like it a lot. That is different than saying it would be my favorite thing they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not my favorite thing they could do.
It's on the podium.
Yeah, well, here's what I would say. I would love Caleb Downs. I'd love this just as much. I would love David Bailey might be my 1 seed pick for them, just an edge, a starter who could be really, really helpful on passing downs. I would like this almost as much. I think there's so many good options for them because they have so many needs sitting at 7 that it's going to be really hard to screw it up on draft night. Now, Love could bomb, and there's a lot of these guys that can be busts, and I don't know enough to tell you that it's definitely going to work out. But when I put my head on my pillow at the end of the first round on draft night, whether it's Love or it's Downs or it's Bailey or it's Sonny Styles, who's my man crush, I would feel great about all of them. Like, this is not behind those other ones because defense, though. Weapons, man. Jaden Daniels, be a great offense. Improve your time of possession. Make your mediocre defense better like they did in 24.
Yeah, where are you better? This is rhetorical. With Bill taking a step as a pass blocker so he can play on more than just, the first and second down, and a really explosive receiver opposite Terry McLaurin, or a running back and another Noah Brown type at wide receiver opposite Terry McLaurin. That's a question that they have to answer. And I think it's important because that's what you're trying to do ultimately. You're not building this in a vacuum. It's not a fantasy draft. It's where are you best served? And the league is kind of weighed in on where they have positional value, and it's still not running back at this point. Although, you look at the leading rushers this year, it's an interesting sort of changeover. It's a handful of years ago, it was 5th rounder, 3rd rounder, undrafted free agent, et cetera. Now it's a lot more 1st and 2nd rounders, kind of to your point.
I would just point to the guys that actually go early in the first round that are really, really different, and they turn out to be game changers. What Jahmyr Gibbs has done in Detroit is a complete franchise-altering addition. That's what I'm talking about here. I don't know if it'd be the exact same right away. It's a little bit of a different skill set. But again, we're talking about the last 2 seasons, an average of about 1,200 yards and 20 touchdowns at Notre Dame. This is a home run hitting, extra base hit vulture who has speed and explosiveness. And the moment you add him, he does incredible things for Jaden Daniels, who you already have to defend and think about. But now I can't possibly key on Jaden Daniels if I'm also worried about Jeremiyah Love when I'm going with the mesh point read option and some of those things when they are in the gun. Because remember, while they'll be under center, they're going to be under center, even if they're at the most under center team in the league at the highest rate, probably half the time. That means you're still in shotgun
still a lot.
50% of the time. That means you could still run pistol if that's going to be a part of this offense plenty of the time. And the other thing I would say is, we had David Blau on, and I asked him about marrying run and pass and play action. And he made it very, very clear to us. He thinks that play action, operating from under center to help in the run game, but to set up passes to look like runs is pertinent. What better way to turn the faders up on all of that than actually have a running back people are worried about? I love Bill as much as anybody. I said at one point last year, and it looks foolish now, he was probably the most dangerous running back they had since Clinton Portis in my mind. And we saw it against the Cowboys at the end of the year, but there wasn't enough of that as the year went on. He went in the 7th round for a reason. This is not that. This is 7th overall, and to me it makes a lot of sense. But I want to see if people think I'm crazy here.